Welcome to the Mom Boss Podcast, the show where motherhood meets business and everything in between. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mom Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Bailey Gordon, and today's episode, I think it's time to give you guys some background on Bailey. I think it's time to introduce myself and give you some insight and perspective on myself as a community leader, business owner, friend, wife, mom, all the things. Maybe you don't care, but it also might give you some perspective on the episodes that I share. I won't be sharing, obviously, like my entire life story. I will possibly elaborate on some of these things as I continue this podcast. Like I might talk about my cancer diagnosis. I might talk about my ADHD. I might talk about having PCOS. I might talk about playing college softball, just kind of all the random things that have happened. And that's just a few things, okay? To kind of get started, I was born March 2nd, 1988. At the age of 3, I was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. I went through a couple years of treatment and was considered cured over 30 years ago now, which is pretty cool. I've been a cancer survivor for 30 years. I went through all the schooling and ended up playing softball at the University of Washington on a college scholarship. We were national champions one of the years that I was there. We went to the World Series 3 out of my 4 years. I was an all Pac-10 outfielder. I went from hitting right-handed power hitter all through high school to being a really fast left-handed slapper / left-handed hitter in college. It was crazy. And I think a lot of mental toughness was grown out of these collegiate Division I softball years. And a lot of my need for community is from being an athlete. Throughout these episodes, these solo shows, I will probably share a lot about mentally being an athlete, being a business owner, having ADHD, all the things. Apparently, I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2008. I will talk a little bit more about that as we go through, but I forgot. And my mom reminded me in 2023. So we'll get to that point. Through college, I made a bunch of incredible lifelong friends, and it was truly an experience. Like, I don't even really care about the school part. This is totally me. I am not a big school person. I am a social person. The reason I loved school is for the social aspect. I actually got in trouble for being so social. All through school, Bailey talks too much. Bailey doesn't finish her projects. Bailey doesn't sit down and focus and gets distracted easily and all the things. Doesn't finish her homework. Things that should have probably cued everybody into me having an ADHD diagnosis. But yeah, no, that wasn't a thing, I guess, for girls in the 90s and 2000s. But anyway, so after going through college and really struggling through college, I did have a show called Breaking It Down with Bailey. Are we shocked? Are we shocked? No, we're not shocked. It was on GoHuskies.com. I ended up writing a book based on the blog posts that I would share about our team during our national championship run. It's called Who We Are Is Why We Win. And it's by Breaking It Down with Bailey. It's available on Amazon, which is fun. I get a $1 royalty check every 3 months or so. I can say I'm a published author, and I do eventually plan on writing another book. I don't know what that'll look like. As I've navigated different journeys throughout my life, I have no problem diving in to anything. Like, if I want to learn something or if I want to start something, I will do it, and I will do it messily. I will do it without needing it to be perfect. Sometimes I do need it to be perfect. There are times where I overthink something, or maybe I don't launch it because I feel a little bit stuck on something, but it's not for any other reason other than maybe I want the sign up process to be perfect. Or I want to make sure it makes sense before I launch it. But most things, like I started a porch bakery in July just because I wanted to sell the extra baked goods that I would make in my kitchen. Random stuff like that, okay? I have no problem starting things. And I think a lot of that has to do with my family. A lot of us have a lot of ideas, a lot of energy. We're pretty random and full of personality. There is no shortage of personality and intensity in my family. We are big personalities. Everyone from my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my brother, our kids, like all the things. And so I think that lends itself really well to being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, and just being a creative in general. As I left college, I worked many different jobs. I was a beer cart girl at a golf course. I worked at Lululemon for many years. I worked for a King County council member. I worked for a fishing company. And then I settled in at a local startup called Volt Athletics. We were based in Seattle and it was with a bunch of friends. And basically, it's a strength and conditioning app. Anybody interested in finding a strength training program can download the Volt Athletics app. I was a certified strength and conditioning coach who helped people understand their training programs. We worked a lot with teams, like high school or college teams that didn't have access to proper strength training. Maybe they were relying on Google, maybe they were relying on a coach who was an ex-football player who was bringing his 1990s weightlifting program into his softball team's training. Basically, our program was there to help bridge that gap between coach who had the knowledge and maybe didn't have the time to curate a proper program for their team based on their sport, based on their physiological needs, things like that. And so it's pretty cool. I learned a ton working for a startup. I was the third external hire. So two guys started it, and then I was the third person they hired outside of themselves. I started the support department. I ran all their tutorials. I recorded all of the introductions and walkthrough videos that went out to our coaches and to our individual athletes. I became the face of that company and it was really incredible. I learned so much. And also, I totally forgot this. You guys, I started my photography business back in 2012. My dad had bought me a camera, and after I had used his camera for a year, he was finally like, here's a camera for you. That was back in 2011. And then after taking several families' photos, I was like, you know what? I should probably make this legal. So in 2012, Photos by Bailey was born. In 2013, I started working for Volt Athletics. While I was at Volt, I did a lot of their photos. I did a lot of photography on the side. I was constantly working alongside of my business. I was building this side hustle called Photos by Bailey as I was working different side jobs, whether it was while I was a beer cart girl or working in HR for a fishing company or while I was working for Volt. I did a ton of photos and I was constantly working. I was a single girl living in Seattle and it was just me. I could do whatever I wanted back then. I worked really hard to build my book of business as a photographer. When I got married in 2018 to my husband, Kellen. I would love to tell you guys the story of how I met Kellen. That's a whole episode in itself, I think. But we met in Texas at a football convention. And when I saw him, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the love of my life. We had a very fast relationship. We knew from the moment we started hanging out consistently that we were endgame. Like we're going to be together forever. We ended up getting engaged in 2017 and married in 2018. We welcomed our first two babies. We had twins in August of 2019. So we were not even married a year and we had two babies. After we found out we were pregnant with the twins, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to go back to work. I knew financially that it didn't make sense for me to go to a job where I was making enough money to just cover daycare for twin newborns. I decided very soon after getting pregnant that I wasn't coming back, but it became really real. My last day in the office was July 31st, and we had the twins on August 4th. It was pretty crazy how fast that happened. And I was just like, wow, yeah, I don't think I can go back. So they were 7 weeks early, and my maternity leave was essentially vacation time. Like it was whatever sick time and vacation time I had built up at my company. That was how much time I got off. I only had 6 weeks. So my maternity leave was up before they had even hit their due date. And that was a really emotional time for me because I had to decide, okay, I need to go back to work to make money, or I'm going to go ahead and just call it quits. It took me a little while. My company was very understanding. I ended up officially leaving at the end of December 2019. And in January 2020, I went full time as a photographer after 8 years of building it on the side. That was really scary. And I think a big piece of advice I would have for anybody who's working on a side hustle is try to find a way to make it a full-time gig before you do it as a mom. January of 2020, the girls were 4 months old, and I was starting to really dive into my business. As we all know, March of 2020 crushed everyone's dreams and hopes of everything, and it completely changed the game. It was very difficult to take photos. I had to pivot. I got creative and I started portraits. So in 2020, people were staying at home. I was like, what if I come to you and I take pictures on your porch or through your window, 6 feet apart, quote unquote, whatever. Ugh. I had to pivot. I had to be creative. I had to find ways to make money when I wasn't making money. Weddings were pushed back to 2021. Even some of those weddings were pushed back to 2022. It was crazy, you guys. Not only did I start off my first year, 2 years of photography full time in a pandemic, but in August of 2020, we found out we were pregnant with our third. And let me tell you right now, as somebody who went through childhood leukemia and chemotherapy, I lost my hair, I went through experimental treatments. And then, of course, at 17, I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. I was told all my life that I would not be able to have kids or that it would be really difficult to have kids. I didn't know what my future held. I didn't know what that would look like as we wanted to start a family. So the fact that we had twins right away, that was crazy. You guys want to hear a funny story? I'm going to tell you anyway. When we were on our honeymoon in Italy, my husband and I, we each had a coin and we went to the Trevi fountain and we both take our coins and we flip them in. And that's that. We don't talk about what we wished for. We just made our wishes and we moved about our day. Fast forward even a year later, like after the girls were born, I was like, what did you wish for in the Trevi fountain? And he's like, I wished for a baby. And I was like, I wished for a baby too. And we both got our wishes. And so it's pretty crazy that we were able to have kids. I didn't think I was ever going to be able to. And so we had the twins. And then on their year birthday, we found out we were pregnant with our son. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's just one baby. It's going to be such an easy pregnancy. After having two babies in January of 2021 at our anatomy scan, we found out that he had a lemon-shaped head, which indicates fluid on the brain. We didn't know what that meant. We were told on a Thursday that our son had something wrong with his brain and that we needed to see a high-risk doctor. 4 days later, our appointment was with that maternal fetal medicine high-risk doctor, and we had to spend that entire weekend wondering what was wrong with our son's brain. What did that mean? Was he going to live? Was I going to live? What did that look like for our family? There were a lot of questions and a lot of scared feelings between my husband and I over that weekend. I will never forget. I couldn't get off the couch. Again, this is probably a full podcast episode, but I'm going to be very brief with this. We ended up qualifying for fetal surgery in Houston, Texas at Texas Children's Hospital, where my son and I went through surgery to repair his spina bifida, his neural tube defect. That's what he was diagnosed with on January 11th. January 25th, we did our evaluation, and February 10th of 2021, we had our fetal surgery. They cut me like a C-section, inserted probes into my uterus, and repaired the opening on his back where his spine was protruding. They put his nerves, his spinal cord, and everything back inside his body. The goal with that, so the lemon-shaped head, the water on the brain, that's hydrocephalus. The goal of doing this surgery was to hopefully reverse his Chiari-2 malformation and hopefully mitigate his hydrocephalus and his need for a VP shunt, which we actually ended up getting when he was 6 months old. There was so much craziness. It was 2021, still the height of COVID. We had moved across the country. We had 18-month-old twins. Our family really carried us through. We would not have been able to do that without our village. Everybody in our village stepped up. I can't even properly thank everybody for what they did for us during that time. I'll have to do an entire episode on this situation alone, because I think that mentally getting through something like that is one of the most insane things I've ever done. The fact that I'm on the other side is truly a testament to my village, my experiences, my mental toughness, and truly, it was crazy. Long story short, we lived in Texas for 3 months and then we moved back home. Then it was time to begin life with 3 kids under the age of 2. It was almost May when we came home, and yeah, they turned 2 that August. You guys, I don't know how we made it through that time. When I say for the last 5 years I have been living in a fog, the last 5 years I have been living in a fog. It has been truly unreal to me that I am here today. Ooh, this makes me kind of emotional. I did not recognize who I was the last several years. The transition to becoming a mom was so intense and such a whirlwind. And then not only becoming a mom, but also being thrust into this world of entrepreneurship. I didn't know I was going to be an entrepreneur when I was a kid. I didn't know that was possible. No one was telling me that I could be a photographer full time and make real live money to support myself. I always thought it was like starving artist money. And it is difficult. You have to work really hard to make money as a photographer. You have to get really creative. You have to find other ways of making income sometimes as well in order to reach some of your financial goals. But it's not impossible and it can be done. I'm still working on finding the right formula for me to make money to support my family, but also to support and have a sustainable business. And so anyway, out of the fog that was raising these three kids at a very close together age during a very difficult time, while also struggling with PPD, PPA, PPMD, all the acronyms, intrusive thoughts, difficulty sleeping, medical baby, twins, of course, building my business and being a wife and trying to maintain my physique because I want to be able to feel physically good to hold my babies, pick them up or play with them. I'm still recovering from fetal surgery, which resulted in a C-section 63 days after surgery. Like I was cut open twice in 63 days. I am still working on recovery. I'm still working through everything mentally. I haven't even really touched on the trauma of my own cancer journey, let alone my intense journey of becoming a mom through a pandemic while also growing a business. You guys, it's crazy. So all of that life experience, which I didn't even share half of, has really led me to where I am as a community leader to begin to build the Mom Boss Meetup. In 2021/2022, I had a discussion with a friend of mine who was also building multiple businesses while raising twin boys who were 3 weeks older than my girls. We talked a lot about what it looked like to put ourselves out there and build a personal brand in front of clients while trying to maintain a level of professionalism that felt unattainable. And it felt really lonely. I'm an extrovert. I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm an ENFP. I'm a Pisces. Like I am the epitome of extrovert. People give me energy and being around people recharges my battery. All of the things that I had gone through, not only the pandemic, but moving, being away from my friends, all my friends moving to different cities, all of us starting families or starting our lives elsewhere. Everything turned upside down. And I know that I'm someone who needs community. I started therapy in October of 2023. Please don't wait to start therapy. I am so passionate about helping you find therapy because I had some really intense feelings about living my life that felt out of my control. I wasn't feeding myself. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't doing the basic needs that need to happen for moms to be able to run a household properly, let alone exist as a human properly. I just wasn't doing those things. And it is still, I'm almost like in recovery. I have to be very aware of it every single day and be very mindful. Like, okay, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to make myself some food and have some electrolytes and take my supplements. I have to make sure that I feed myself lunch. I have to make sure that I drink water. Things that people tend to just naturally do and feel their hunger cues and thirst cues. I don't feel those the same way that typical people do. And in 2023, that's when I knew that I needed to get tested for ADHD. And that's when my mom said, "What do you mean? You were diagnosed in 2008. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." She's like, "Why do you think they gave you Adderall?" I was like, "I don't know. I thought they were testing something in college." She's like, "No, they diagnosed you with ADHD and they gave you Adderall to help you deal with it and manage it." I hated Adderall, so I was only on it for a week. So anyway, I'm an unmedicated, quote unquote, undiagnosed ADHD girly living this world where my world was totally rocked. My coping mechanism, my routine, the ways that I was able to manage my ADHD, that was my planner. And when 2020 hit and when I had kids and all these things, my planner, that all went out the window. So in 2023, I started working with my therapist, and one of the things that we determined was I needed to bring back my planner. That was a key thing in my recovery. The other thing I needed to bring back was community. I needed to find a way to make friends who are in similar places in life as me. I joined an all women's gym. It's amazing. I joined V Athletics to help me get that movement back in. And while I'm not quite as consistent as I'd like to be, I still have made so many incredible friends and connections there. And then what started out as an idea with my friend who has the twin boys, Sheila, back in 2021/2022, it became an Instagram in June of 2022. It became a reality in March of 2024. I had my first meetup. I decided to call it the Mom Boss Meetup. I didn't know what this would grow into. Of course, now it's the Mom Boss podcast, and now we're going to have the Mom Boss community, which is going to be a virtual community for moms to check in and make friends, learn things, and connect, and all these things. And I had no idea what this would grow into, but I knew what I wanted it to grow into. I didn't realize it would happen so fast. We are approaching the 1 year birthday. Next week, it'll be 1 year of the Mom Boss Meetup. The first meetup, I expected 4 people: Gina, Lindsay, Sheila, and Emily. Kaylee was another one. It turned into 14 people. Everybody brought 1 or 2 people. It turned into a huge thing. Like, I was shocked. I cried. Other people cried. It was a really good meetup. That group of women who showed up for me at that first meetup, they're really special, and they have a special place in the Mom Boss group. This, makes me emotional. This group would be nothing without them. It would be nothing had they not shown up that day with an open mind, willing to learn about this crazy idea that I had to bring together moms who own their own businesses and to help us find and create community based on the same interests and being in the same seasons of life. Even if we're not in the same seasons currently, we have been through them, or we are going through them, or we will go through them. And so it was just so special. Every month we have grown. Our most recent meetup was in February, and we had 46 women attend. And that is truly incredible. I looked out at that group and I was just like, wow, you guys need this too. And I can't help but think of the mom who was drowning in diapers and feeding schedules and medical appointments and snacks and trying to feed herself and trying to squeeze in a shower and forgetting to go work out and just trying to stay alive, who was also trying to run a business and trying to make a livable wage. I'll never forget hitting that livable wage for me to be a basic human being contributing to my family, and feeling so proud because the mom in me who struggled during a pandemic while raising 3 kids under the age of 2 and dealing with all the things, that girl would be so proud and so shocked at what we have grown this group into. Oh, I'm an emotional girl, you guys. You know it. I'm a Pisces. If you've been to a meetup, you know it. If you follow me on any of my social medias, you know it. I am passionate about helping moms find their community. I am passionate about making sure people know that they can do it, that they are supported, that they have a village, and that it's possible. I am a blubbering mess. I have tears just running down my face. And I am so grateful to every single person who believes in what the Mom Boss Meetup and the Mom Boss podcast and the Mom Boss community can do. This whole Mom Boss group that I'm building is special. The people who come are special. The vibe is special. We are building something special here. And I just appreciate everybody who tunes in, shares, likes, follows along on what we're doing, and just cheers us on. It's just really cool. Like, next step is to create the Dad Boss Meetup, because while I believe that moms need this support, dads need it too. But how special that we can build something that helps moms get out of the fog they're in, or helps them find a place in their business, or allows them access to essentially business resources that they might not get access to otherwise. Maybe they can't afford the access via like a personal mentor. Maybe they can't access it physically because it's all in person and they'd like something virtual. Whatever the case may be, building this community is so important. And the reason I tell you guys my story is because it's my why. It has been what has led me to where I am today. I know that I am called to build this community. I know that this is what I was put on this earth to do. I'm also put on this earth to take photos and document things for people. But I think that this is really, truly what I was meant to do: build community and help women feel welcome and seen, and especially moms and potential moms. I want to help moms who are looking to start their own businesses. I want to help moms who have their own businesses. I want to help moms who have their own businesses and maybe took a step back as they raise their babies, and then they want to enter back into the workforce when their kids are 5 or 6 and they're in school full time or whatever. I want to help moms who are looking to become moms. Maybe they're just aspiring moms and they want to know what it's like to transition from being a part-time side hustling working girly to being a full-time entrepreneurial woman raising babies. Wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you know that you're welcome, you're seen, and this group is probably for you. I hope that you feel really welcome and that the vibes are just really high. Anyway. Oh, okay. Now that I am covered in tears, I'm going to wrap this up by mentioning our next meetup in person is March 26th in Puyallup, Washington. If you're interested, you can head to the mombossmeetup.com and you can find the registration details there. It's just going to be a little birthday celebration. I'm going to talk a lot about community. I'm probably going to cry. It's definitely going to happen. I'm going to talk a lot about why this was created. I am hoping to launch our virtual community on March 26th as well. I have a couple other things that I'm working on, but that is the goal. I'm just really excited for this group. I'm very fortunate to have everybody. I am making some really incredible and special friends from this group. I hope that is what you guys feel when you are a part of this community. It's so special. Okay, the other thing we're doing is a retreat in May. We are having a spring work retreat. We will be renting a cabin and spending some time working on a really big project. A lot of us spend our days being moms and our nights working on our businesses, or whenever we have free time, we are working on our businesses, but we don't ever get a solid weekend to just like really dive in and dissect our business. And so what we're going to do is we are renting this cabin. The limit is going to be 10 women. When you come to the retreat, there's going to be set working times. We are also going to identify the project that you're going to work on, and then we're going to help you really make sure that you have a plan going in so that you don't go in feeling like, oh my gosh, what can I work on? And then you waste the first 2 hours of our working time creating your plan. So we're going to go in really prepared. I want to make sure that you guys feel really supported, encouraged, and you have the tools necessary to get shit done. And so, yeah, that's the goal of this retreat. So anyway, more details will be on our Instagram at the Mom Boss Meetup. That was a pretty long episode. I usually try to make these 15 minutes, but you know what? That was an important one. I think that it's perfect for what we're doing this month. This is our 1 month birthday, and we're talking a lot about community and the importance of community. And I think it goes without saying like that this is really an important thing for us to have community and women who are building us up, cheering us on, and in our corner. So I'll talk more about that on my next episode, but I am just really happy you guys are here. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you next time. Okay, take care.